Hey guys, so this is going to be the tutorial video for Terran, the first one of the series. We're going to be going over... It's going to be largely similar to my Protoss one if you've watched that, but it's basically going to be the same thing. We're going to be going over macro basics, right? Yeah, we're just going to go over like basically SCV production, kind of openers, build orders and stuff like that. And then same as we did with Protoss, we'll watch a replay a little bit later to kind of break down a little bit of what I'm going to talk about here. I don't even perform like super well in that game, but I think I'll still be able to get like the general idea across. Okay, so we're going to go over basic SCV production. This is pretty much the most important thing. You'll see me going on and on about it all the time. I'll show you the normal 3 different openers you can do with Terran. We'll go over it kind of loosely. I'll go more in depth later. But we'll go mostly into the 2 racks build. So the 3 different builds, it's essentially 2 racks within a quick academy, or 3 racks is the second build, and then there's obviously the mech build. 3 racks, you almost never end up doing it a lot of times. Like I'll do it sometimes depending on the situations, and like high level games, 3 racks really isn't that good. At least very rarely. I'll kind of go into it in the future when you want to do something like that. Like I said, we'll mostly focus on the 2 racks. So the build is going to be non-stop SCV production at the beginning, depot on 9. And then when this depot finishes, we do our first barracks. My depot was actually a little bit late because my split in the beginning was bad. If your split is correct and you're like separating your miners correctly, the depot actually starts right when the SCV comes out. So you'll actually see a little bit, and maybe it's a good thing to even show, just in the beginning how important that split can be. Because normally right when this finishes, you're actually ahead on minerals. Like you're usually around 160 by the time it's ready. The depot finishes. So just that little screw up in the beginning makes a big difference because it delayed an SCV, it delays some extra returns in the beginning, so it slows you down. So we'll pretend I messed up to show you. Okay, so the next barracks comes at 13. You'll see the resources line up pretty well for the most part, because I did mess up, like I said, so it's a little bit off, but if you do it correctly, the SCVs are popping out, and you'll have your resources lining up perfect. And then second depot on 14. So again, just to go over the build, it's depot on 9, barracks with that SCV when it finishes, which I think is 11, second barracks on 13, depot on 14. So for the 2 racks build, a lot of times whenever you're getting 9 pulled or something, you want to go bunker. If you're not getting rushed, then obviously you can just skip the bunker. And then you want to go gas pretty quick. Just don't cut any SCVs for it. Like SCV production is the most important thing. And you always want to prioritize. Basically, the order I would do prioritization is you want to do workers, then army, then like macro buildings like barracks and factories and stuff like that. From here, just kind of keep up with your resources a little bit. Like it gets a little bit different if you have to go bunker. I don't like cutting workers or anything in the beginning, like Marines and stuff, to get my academy out faster. And you kind of see like how I'm prioritizing, right? Like you see me putting emphasis on workers first, even if it's like a little bit extra. Like if I queue the SCVs early, and I didn't necessarily need to, but it was getting kind of close, I don't even risk it, right? If I don't have to. So you can stay on 2 racks for a while while you're going to academy. Most of the time when you're doing 2 racks, almost always, if you're doing 2 racks, you don't want to move out before you have medics, and stem, firebats, whatever you want to go for. Like I said, this is pretty much the most common opener. And my opener wasn't super clean here that I'm showing you, but you still get the general idea of it. It's okay to overmine a little bit of gas, because like you'll end up spitting a lot on like range, stem, that kind of thing. Most of the time you want to go stem first. Range is something I do, and it's something we'll go over in the future. Like, stem is almost always better. There are some rare cases where range is actually better to get first. As far as like your depot goes, you pretty much want to keep it going non-stop. If you see yourself getting like a little bit ahead, your stuff is queued up pretty well, you can start your third barracks. Like if you're a supply, right? If you've got a little bit of like a leniency with your supply depot, you can delay one for a little bit to get your extra barracks, extra Marines and stuff out like that. But you pretty much want one SCV building non-stop. Okay, so that's the basic opener for 2 racks. I'll do like a quick factory and 3 racks thing. We won't spend too much time on it. Okay, so for Terran, when you are hotkeying your army, it's a little bit more tricky with Terran than it is with Protoss. Macro is also a bit tougher with Terran than it is with Protoss, because Terran units build a little bit quicker and they're cheaper, so it can be a little bit hard to stop yourself from floating when you're fighting with Terran, as opposed to Toss. Toss is very lenient. You can go up to 4 racks, you can stay on 3 racks, go multiple factories, just kind of depends on the situation. And again, like I know I keep saying it, but we'll go over the specifics of when you need to change up your build, and what we're looking for essentially. Let me deal with this real quick. I should have gone stem first. About stem first, it's just way better here. Why is computer macro so good? Anyway, so when you're doing, the only reason that was an issue is because I went range first, just total autopilot, and that's a good example right there of why not to do that. You're almost always fighting with zealots and stuff in front of you. But anyway, I want to go over the hotkeys real quick. So when you're hotkeying your army for Terran, you typically want your bio, your Marines, your Firebats, all that stuff on their own hotkey, and when you want your medics on a separate hotkey. So you can do like Marines on 1, 2, medics on 3. The reason being so that when you select your Marine hotkeys, you can stem quick, right, during the fight, and then you control your medics separately as you need to. If you have medics in the hotkey with your Marines, as you can see, stemming is not even an option. You have to have only Marines selected or Firebats, whatever. If you have medics in there, then you just can't cast any spells or stem or anything. So that's why it's really, really important to keep those hotkeys separated. Otherwise, during a fight, you'll be like scrambling with everything running around. You'll be scrambling to like select your army, or maybe you'll like try to, you know, control click or something, or double click. You just get random amounts of, you know, random units throughout the fight selected. So it's really inefficient, obviously. So yeah, just having this hotkey separate makes a big difference. For Terran, when you're macroing while fighting, it's because you're using multiple hotkeys for army, I would recommend something more like have your army set to like 1, 2, 3, right? Like say, like I had, you know, I got my Marines on 1 here. Let me just show you how I would do it. Marines on 2, medics on 3. So I can, if I'm fighting, stem real quick while we're fighting. And then I would have 4, maybe just set to my building, right? So I could just come here and just quickly queue up. Even if you queue up like a little bit off, like there I did 2, 2, 1, you know, trying to get double, it's fine. Like if you're in a hurry, just queue up what you can and then back to your fight. Like I said, with Terran, it's a little bit harder with Toss because, as you can see, I've already finished like a rotation of Marines. It's very, very quick. So when you're floating during fighting, never feel like you have to stay on a certain number of buildings. Like, if you macro perfectly while teching, 4 barracks is actually more than enough. You will see games sometimes where I'll stay on 3 barracks for like 8 or 9 minutes, and my money will be spent because I'm teching the entire time, I'm macroing non-stop. And you actually don't need a ton of barracks. But if you're out fighting and you let your macro slip, don't be afraid to queue up, you know, 2 units on each barracks, drop a couple extra barracks, drop some factories, whatever you need to do to keep your money spent. As you practice and you get better at spending your money and better at multitasking, you'll need less structures to keep your money spent, right? I feel like that pretty well sums up the build. I can show a mech build. We're just going to go over mech real quick. Yeah, we'll go over mech real quick. I won't go too into detail on it. Like I said, I know I've said this like 3 or 4 times. But I'll just show you the basic opener, because I know a lot of people still like to play mech. I personally prefer bio when pubbing. I think in innies, mech is usually better. But bio can still be really good. It's still pretty popular. It's just that defending mech in the beginning is a little bit hard. But I know some people are just mech players, right? They don't want to play bio, so if they watch this video, they feel like, well, this doesn't mean that I'm a mech player. Okay, so we'll go over like a quick mech opener. And I won't really go beyond that right now. So the same difference, but when you get close to 9, you want to send your SCV out sooner, because you want it at the wall. You want it there ahead of time. If you send it when you get to 9, then it's going to be too late, and you'll end up waiting too long for your depot to start your next SCV. The same difference though here, when the depot is done, you'll make the barracks out of it. Right, so it's still 9 depot. See, there's a little bit of delay because we did have like a little bit more delay because you have to go across or whatever. And then yeah, it's barracks right after. And then the next thing you build is going to be your refinery, right? So just whenever you have the resources, get your refinery. But of course, always keep SCV production going. Oops. And then still, when you get to 14, you want your depot, second depot. But again, you want to send it out a little bit early for the exact same reason. Because see, if I waited for 14 here, then it'd be way too late before you start your depot. This is not a proper wall. We'll go over proper walling. Like, this is still okay. I'm pretty sure this isn't open. But yeah, I'll pay more attention to walling next time when we go over walling. Okay, so this guy comes back. Yeah, as soon as your refinery finishes, sorry, as soon as it's done, you put your 2 extra on gas, so you got 3 on gas. If you don't need to go marine, like say you're not getting pressured or your team has map control, actually this, I think it is open. Then as soon as you hit 100 gas, you'll be able to start your factory. If you have to build marines and it's not that easy, it gets a little bit iffy when you're having to build marines. Otherwise, we just keep making your SCVs, right? And then when you get to 200, you start your next factory, and you'll do this until you get 3 factory. This is the, basically this is the macro mech build. No latency. So there you see we get our 3 factories going. We never had to pull off gas. Start the add-on right away. And then we'll just go like vultures from here. Like I said, we won't go any further beyond that. When this is finished, you get your vulture upgrades. Just one thing I'll say, I won't show it right now, but one thing I'll say, if you have to build the marines or something, say you're getting attacked, you have to build marines, you have to repair, it does screw things up, and if you're getting harassed like that, you'll end up over-mining gas, right? So if you're spinning minerals and you're not able to continue getting, it wasn't making people, sorry, just talking too much, but yeah, okay, sorry. If you're getting attacked, then and you're having to spend minerals repairing, you have to build the marine, stuff like that, and you start over-mining gas, just pull off of gas. You can leave like 1 on gas, pull 1 or 2 off of gas, and kind of make up for the mineral count. Okay, we're going to go over a replay. It's not like I said, it's not a replay where I did it perfectly by any means, but you'll still get the general idea of what I'm talking about. Again, this is going to be very similar to the Protoss tutorial. where I just basically we're gonna watch workers, we're gonna watch my macro, and not much else. If anything, this is a good example of how powerful macro is because I make a lot of mistakes with my army. I eat a lot of storms. I end up floating a lot of money because I get really rich and I don't do production really well. I have excuses for it. We won't go over it. It's not important right now. And even though I'm floating a lot of money, like you'll still be able to see like the power of what I'm talking about. Because I still like outscore the lobby and stuff like that. And if I spend all of that money, then you can just kind of imagine, right, how much more powerful I would be in this game. It's a bit of a hectic game, so that's part of the problem. I am trying to show you guys like what it looks like in higher level lobbies, right? This is a pretty high level lobby. Like Zia's really good. He's as good or better than me. You know, we got Hollywood, SCV Legend, Two Berries, and I guess Fang. Everybody says Fang's pretty good too. So this is a pretty high level lobby. And what ends up happening is SCV Legend dies. So it ends up being pretty chaotic and there's a lot going on. But as you can see, I do my 2 barracks build. I end up going bunker because there was a 9 pool. So when there's a 9 pool, you gotta get bunker. Let me just go back and show you guys actually real quick, kind of how I do it. I think this is important. So I just do my standard like 9 depot, barracks right after, and then on 13, SCV comes up, starts my next barracks. Then on 14, SCV goes over. Yeah, I actually went into mine a little bit because my money was a little bit off again. Probably another bad split. Start depot on 14. I don't start my bunker right away in this one because I guess I just wasn't worried about being targeted. The distance is also like pretty good in my favor. Like I'm not really close, right? So anyway, you see I do my 2 barracks, bunker, gas, start my depot a little bit late. So actually what I do here, because I started my depot late, I don't queue up another marine here. Because, as I always say, I think workers are the most important. So I actually cut a marine here, because of my depot, to start the extra SCV instead. And then I start my academy. So this is like I said, it's not really clean, but you'll still get the general idea here. I'll definitely start paying more attention to my games in the future and getting proper replays for you guys. I went through a bunch of them trying to find some good stuff, and yeah, my stuff is just all over the place. So he ends up dying here. And as you can see, I don't move. And the reason I don't move is because Terran cannot contest a 9 pool in the beginning of the game. You have to get to your medics and stuff first. And this game, I did go range first because of goons. Stem would have been really good against the lings and stuff, but it's not so good against goons because I know I'm going to be getting harassed. So that's actually why I go range first here. I also get a forward bunker on the choke because if you get a forward bunker, it really helps to deal with goons. They can't really push through this anymore once you have range. So there my range finishes. I'm getting my depot up, or my bunker up, and he can't really contest me anymore. So we're on our 3 racks, we're continuing macro. I get my eBay because we need turrets, and upgrades are also good. And then I start my factory because my money's doing fine. So here, let's just take a quick stock of worker count, right? Temporaries did lose a couple, but as you can see, I am the highest worker count in the game right now. Which obviously means that my income is the highest in the game right now. Another thing is too, this move out here is I don't expect to kill anything, but we've been against double 9 pool. I don't want to go too in depth on this because of stuff that I'll cover in like later videos as far as like game state. But with Terran, move outs like this can be really good because you're gonna trade well most of the time at this like kind of mid game point here when you have stem bio, especially when you're against lings. So here's just because my worker count's good, like I know my worker count's gonna be good. I felt pretty good about my production so far. We move out and take a trade here, and this is a huge trade, right? We clear up all the lings, which kind of removes their map control. We'll go through this pretty quick because we mostly just want to show like the importance of macro here. So I have essentially the army I just moved out with, I have close to the same amount again now, right? Whereas Zerg, very low income at 19 workers, I'm up to 36 now. And we're just kind of, there's a lot of fighting nonstop, so you'll see my macro slipping because of that a bit here. I think I'll start floating some here soon. Partially because my gas is pretty low too. As you can see, I went up to 4 racks, 2 factory. This is like, if you're macroing well, that's kind of the maximum you need off of one base, if you can keep it going pretty well, like nonstop. Again, just a quick look, workers right here, right? I'm up 10 workers on the second highest person, which is my teammate right now. There has been damage done to yellow, as I mentioned. I don't think blue took any in the beginning of the game either. But it's just because of the way I prioritize workers. And this means that, as you can see, I'm fully saturated. I mentioned this in my previous video, but essentially you want, I'm only mining 2 gas here, but essentially you want close to, you want around 35 to 40 workers, like maximum on your mineral line. But you'll see that I continue like overproducing workers. And the reason is so that when I finally expand, we can do a full transfer. So yeah, we're just continuing macroing, we're fighting non-stop. Like I said, there's a lot going on. We're just trying to keep up with worker count a little bit here. I do let it idle some because there's a lot of fighting in here. I start my command center, right? And especially when I start my command center, it's just like, don't let up on your workers, because as soon as it finishes, I have to secure this one before I can transfer. But we get it secured here, and then when it's secured, I transfer a bunch of SCVs, right? I think I just do 12. So we're close to fully saturated here. I could use a few more. I would even say that this is pretty much fully saturated. So we'll look at the game state again, right? So this base, pretty much fully saturated. Yeah, I know I've got a lot of idle SCVs. You guys are going to have to bear with me. Like I said, I tried looking through a bunch of games. I'll get better ones for you next week, I promise. But everybody's macro is slipping this game, I promise you, because there's just a lot going on. It's a high-level game with a lot of fighting, and we're in a 2v3 situation. But you still get the general idea, like I said. Worker count, I'm up 12. Well, I guess 10 on the second highest temporaries. But I also have the expansion. So he's oversaturated on this one. I have all of these mineral patches. Essentially 2 per patch is close to maximum. I have this much more income over him. Well, essentially on a fully saturated main base as well still. You'll see my minerals spike really bad here soon because I just let my macro slip from all the fighting. But I feel like this pretty well shows like the importance of it, because even though I'm taking constant bad trades, my income is so much higher that it's fine, right? It's okay. So that's why, like, whenever I'm teaching people, I always say to them, like, macro will get you really far. You don't even need good macro, or micro rather. You can have bad micro and really good macro, and you can make it pretty far, just on macro alone. Like, not even looking at your armies, right? You could basically send, especially if you're playing protons, right? Here they go for a counterattack, but it's fine. I end up getting a lot of barracks. As you can see, I'm floating 2.8k, right? So here I was killing him, held the counter, we were fighting non-stop. And you see my supply like kind of ballooned, and I'm still floating this much more money over everybody. So if I spend this, then I'm pretty much maxed, right? I'll be max supply. I could have like extra factories here. I just let my macro slip a bit, partially because of this like huge income boon that I got. Yeah, I know it's not the best example as far as like me being clean, but I think that's actually fine to show you guys because, you know, if you're learning, you're practicing, you're going to have similar issues, and you can still see how strong it can be, even if you're not playing like perfect, right? Or far from it even. So, essentially, the main thing you just want to focus on is just SCV production. Macro is very important. Remember to hotkey your army. separate. Keep the SCVs just pumping. But yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this one. I know it's not as clean of a video as my last one, but I'll be keeping up with stuff now. Like, I kind of rushed into this weekend. But starting from here on out, I'll be kind of keeping an eye out for games that I can kind of have ready for you guys to break down better. I spent like an hour and a half going through replays, and I just could not find a good example of what I wanted to show you guys. I know this wasn't the best example, but you kind of get the general idea. Yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this one for just basic macro, very basic macro. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will either answer you in the comments or I add it to a list that I can add to future videos. Like I said, I know this one's really similar to my Protoss video, but it's just the two races are going to be the same for the most part. But Zerg is very different. I'll do a Zerg video tomorrow for macro as well as openers. And next week we'll start getting into like how to adjust and react to certain things, how to handle attacks, that kind of thing. Real quick, I can show you guys the score screen. No, I didn't really take too much damage. I had like the 1 meter harass on my economy, and that was pretty much it. But as you can see, like as far as mining goes, the closest enemy to me was the 9 o'clock or the 3 o'clock Protoss, and he was 7k down in resources. 7k is a lot, right? But he wasn't really able to expand. I got the expansion up. He took a little bit of damage early, but you kind of see the power of like outmining someone, right? As long as you're keeping the macro going. Like, I outmined by 7,000. I was floating 2.5k at the end. I could have been actually like absolutely massive by the end of the game. Yeah, that'll do it for this video. Sorry again, I know the quality wasn't as good as it was with the Protoss one. I do apologize for that. It's mostly because I was struggling to find like a good replay. But I still think this gets the point across. Yeah, if you have any questions, things that you want me to answer, things you want to see in my next videos, just let me know. I will happily answer or add them to the list of things that I'm going to cover. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.